So Andy, you're an account director in our Amazon team, and it's we're coming up to a very busy time because actually it's Prime Day. It was announced just last week or so. Actually, we haven't had much notice, but it's happening this year on July the 11th and July the 12th. So by the time people watch this, not much time to go at all. So given that we haven't been working with some of the people watching this video for the last sort of 3 months in the build up to the Prime Day, what can brands be thinking about doing with a week to go or days to go till quite a significant couple of days in the e-commerce calendar, really?
Exactly, yeah, it's not long ago to do at all. So I think a couple of things that are going to be really important. So obviously deals is the main reason people are heading to for Amazon Prime Day. They're expecting great deals across brands. So at this late point, unless you have a specific Prime Day deal in place, it will be too late to arrange one. But brands can still set up vouchers or price discounts. So deals will both enable them to increase that conversion on the product pages for those influx of consumers that are getting there. And this will obviously help them to deter from switching to a competitor. So you can still set up those on the day discounts. So they may not have a separate page, but it will be important about converting what you've got there. I think the second thing, so if you do have Prime Day deals booked in, which we really hope you do, is making sure that they're live on the start of Prime Day, especially if actually you're sharing those deals on social media followers or email lists. Because if there is an issue, it gives you a chance. You can still get a voucher set up running quickly as a backup for anything that fails. So they don't get to miss that event entirely and lose too many consumers that are seeing the ads for competitors with deals and going elsewhere. Last year, Jim, we saw a lot of issues on Black Friday with data glitches. That was a big problem. So it meant that actually quite a lot of people, including ourselves, were kind of running blind for a period of time in the dark because we couldn't actually see what was happening on the platform, like the spend in terms of conversions. So it was a bit of a nightmare at a point, but if you're actually aware of kind of what you're running and generally how it is flowing, you can keep a pretty good handle on it. But the important thing to do is to make sure you've got your daily caps on. So in terms of your budget, so you don't then overspend, have some control. So if there are any issues, then you can actually still keep control of it in the background. And probably, Jim, probably the last thing is probably actually important is inventory. So if you're lucky enough to sell out of inventory, because it's really important to get it in place, but if you do happen to sell out and you have plenty of budget around, it's important to have kind of a backup there. So some clients do have a vendor and a seller account. So it means that the stock they've sent it to Amazon, if they actually run out that stock, they potentially can switch on a seller account and then supply that themselves, fulfill that themselves. So that's potentially another source. Or if you have a good relationship with a third-party seller partner you can actually sell through, at least you don't miss out on those sales. So I think these are probably some key things that you can't necessarily plan ahead for now, but you can have these kind of things in place on the day.
Yeah, some great thoughts there, Andy. And so I guess there's a lot of nervousness in the market now as we come into the sort of second half of the year and people are trying to predict what's going to happen. Have we got any indications from any of the data that you're seeing right now about how big or how successful, how significant this Prime Day is versus last year, or just generally from just a sense, I guess, of how big it's going to be this year?
I think as we know, it's pretty tight out there for a lot of people at the moment. So I think deals are going to become even more important. So I expect on those days we're still going to get an influx in traffic. At the moment, search volumes are measuring pretty close to what they were last year. Across, if we can look at across categories, they still seem to be quite similar. Conversion is a little bit down on last year, but search volumes themselves are still the same. So I think people are really waiting for those deals. Last year, search volumes the week of Prime Day increased by 100% from the previous week. So you're talking a big jump in traffic. And the week after, they dropped down to about the same as they were before. So that 1 week is going to be really, really key for those involved in Prime Day. And in terms of deals, we talked about that what consumers are expecting. Well, with a deal, without a deal, brands on average see an uplift of about 30%. So without a deal, about 30%. with a deal, it can be 300% or more for those Prime days. And you've got to think about the amount of traffic you've got during that time. It's a real opportunity to get in front of consumers, because actually in the next 14 days, there is still going to be a huge amount of conversion off those days. So you've really got to hold your nerve on investing in Prime Day, because it's going to be a longer tail that's actually going to have a bigger effect on your brand.
Yeah, I've seen some advanced publicity from Amazon themselves saying that they are considering running discounts of up to almost 60% on their own products. You know, whether that's Echo or Ring or Fire TVs, whatever that might be. Does that have an impact on traffic overall? I imagine, which is a good thing for any other brand on there.
Definitely, yeah. No, so Amazon, I think they are always the big winners on Prime Day. They often are. They're the headlines that you see of kind of the big generators of revenue on the day. And actually those, yeah, driving those big discounts, it does set an expectation quite high for other brands, but it certainly does build the traffic. And, you know, brands savvy enough are getting ahead of this already, and you'll see the amount of traffic that's driven from socials, from email lists. So it is important that we take advantage as much as possible on the day. And that's actually, you know, part of what you can make sure you do on the day is kind of keep an eye on competitors, because they are driving that traffic. And if they run out of stock, you want to make sure you've got a list of all your key competitors ASIN, so you can check those pages during the day and get in there if their traffic is generating and not been able to convert, and making sure that, you know, you're there with a better deal ideally on the day.
Brilliant. And you touched upon some of the things that people can do on the 2 days itself. There was a rumor for a while it was going to be a whole week, wasn't there? I think just a month or so ago, but they seem to have come back and stuck to the original plan of 2 days. But that's quite an intense period for people to be managing that proactively, isn't it? But so crucial to success.
It definitely is. And I think, yeah, monitoring things on those days, as I said, with monitoring kind of your competitors, making sure your brand store pages are not having any dropout issues, checking your deals on the day is going to be really, really key. Make sure you've got nothing dropping off. Having backup plans as the ones we talked about. Being efficient as possible, because, you know, these things, it's going to move fast. It always does. So keeping track of your key metrics during the day and having kind of a bulk, you can use Amazon's bulk sheets, which you can pretty much pull all your dashboard data down quickly, make any changes you need to make in terms of bids, in terms of targeting, and flush it back in, upload it again. So you can actually be as quick as possible to use that time on the day. And actually that itself is going to be useful after, because if you have your pre-bulk sheet downloaded with all your original bids, you can then roll that back after Prime Day and actually get yourself back to where you previously, and make sure you don't overspend. So I think bulk sheets are kind of probably one of the big pieces of advice I would give on using during that period. So it's just keeping an eye on it and knowing what your limits are in terms of how far your eyes can go to make sure you are as profitable as possible, and you're not just having a longer tail negative effect on your brand.
Great, thank you, Andy. Well, it sounds like you need to get some rest before Prime Day.
A lot of coffee to be drunk.
11th and 12th.
Yes.
Thank you for your advice. And if anyone wants to come and talk to us a bit more about, probably not this Prime Day, but prepping for Amazon peak season, not far away, I guess, get in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.